And everybody knew these stories. It was this place of destruction, corruption, waste, a cursed place. And Jesus is teaching here about a place on earth. And he's making the same point about hell that he's made about the kingdom of God. And it's something we've been learning over and over and over again, that the kingdom of God is not just a future otherworldly destination that Jesus taught. It's available right here, right now, that the presence and the power of God is available right here, right now. And that it is a future reality. And one day the kingdom will come fully. And we talked about it last week. There'll be a new heaven and a new earth. But right now, he says, pray that my kingdom would come. Where? On earth. Right here, right now. It is both the present and future reality. And he's making the same point about hell. It's not just a future reality in some other worldly dimension. He's saying, don't you see hell on earth? Don't you see the fire burning, the fire of hell? Burning right here, right now on earth? In other words, when those children were sacrificed to the demon god Molech, that's hell on earth. When those criminals went out and murdered and raped or whatever they did to end up with that execution and then their lives are wasted, don't you see what that is? That's hell on earth. Every rape, hell on earth. Every murder, hell on earth. Every abuse, hell on earth. Every oppression, hell on earth. When a child dies from malnutrition, it's hell on earth. And Jesus is saying, don't you see? Are you asleep? Can't you see that the world is on fire? That the fire of hell is burning right here, right now, all around you? Do you see it? Are you going to do anything? Because the world is on fire. And I want to ask you, have you seen it? Have you seen that the world's on fire? He's asking the question over and over again, have you seen hell on earth? And Vimali lives in hell on earth, friends. Chained between the silk looms. And you know very well she's not the only one. Countless millions live every day inside the gates of hell right here on earth. And that's why over and over again in his manifesto, the Sermon on the Mount, he makes this connection between the fires of hell and our hearts, believe it or not. Look at Matthew chapter 5, verses 21 and 22. It'll be up on the screens. It's not in your Granger notes. Look at this connection he makes between our hearts and the fire of hell. He says, you have heard it said to people long ago, do not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with his brother will be subject to judgment. And again, anyone who even says to his brother, Raka, is answerable to the Sanhedrin. And anyone who says, you fool, and what does he say? Will be in the danger of the fire of Gehenna. Gehenna. There it is. He's saying, don't you understand that anger and bitterness and rage that is burning inside of you? Don't you know what that fire is? It's the fire that burns in Gehenna. That's what it is. And it starts with this rage inside of you, and then it turns into words in your mouth, and then it turns into vengeance fantasies, and then it turns into deeds. And don't you see where that's going? How do you think those criminals ended up in the fires of Gehenna? It started with that fire right inside of you. That fire burns inside of you, and when it breaks out of you, it comes into this world, and it sets the whole world on fire. Don't you see the problem? And Jesus is asking you and I, do you want the whole world to be an extension of that burning pile of garbage and carcasses called Gehenna? Is that what you want this world to be? What kind of world do you want, Jesus says? Because look around, this one's on fire. And he says it with tears in his eyes and a broken heart. Are you going to do anything? And it's this understanding of hell that defines the church for Jesus. Look at his words in Matthew 16, verse 18. Peter has just made this confession that you are the Son of God. You are the Messiah. You're the one sent to rescue this world that's on fire. And look at what Jesus says back to him. Now I'm going to tell you who you really are. And he's telling us this morning. He says, you are Peter, a rock, and this is the rock on which I will put together my church. A church so expansive with energy that not even the gates of hell, Gehenna, will be able to keep it out. I'm going to use 21st century language, but here's the image Jesus is painting. He's saying, imagine Gehenna. Now imagine men and women and boys and girls trapped inside that burning trash heap, surrounded by cadavers and death. And imagine a fence around it, a barbed wire fence. And then imagine gates out front, and they're padlocked. And those people are trapped inside Gehenna. And all over the world, you know this is true. There are places all over the world where hell has set up its gates. And Vimali, that sweatshop, she's inside hell on earth. And it's like she's padlocked in, and there's a barbed wire fence around her, and she can't get out. And Jesus says, my people are the ones who will run to the gates of hell, and they will kick the doors open, and they will set the prisoners free. That's who the church is. Most people on earth run from hell. My people will run towards hell. And that's how he defines the church.